Hey guys, Mythology's Bot here. We've got Rex-Sprocketsburg with us. He won the most recent poll, so we're gonna check him out in the Psycherum real quick. And let's get going. Yeah.
What am I to do with you?
Okay, so we have a pretty basic build with him. It's nothing too big, but it's tons of fun always. So we have obviously the bolter, shock maul, and then we have crack grenades to go with that, and then the veteran shout. Always a good support build, but let's break them down real quick. We'll have some general kind of breakups. So shock maul is the MK3. Like I said, lack of a better word, mobility is the dump stat. Mainly just because it's not going to be the most important thing for you. Crowd control, penetration, finesse, and damage are also going to be very important too. And on that weapon, we have flat damage and unarmored. And the reason for the unarmored is because this thing is really good at dealing with hordes. That's kind of what I want it for, especially if you're trapped in the corner, you need some room or you need some space. This weapon really kind of opens that space up for you. And on that, we have Skull Crusher and then Opportunist. The Skull Crusher is essentially extra damage when they're staggered. So against unarmored, single hit will stagger them, and that will usually finish them off. This second hit will finish them off. And then with that, Opportunists are rending versus staggered enemies as well. And this thing has a nice little activatable where you poke them and you shock them. That's really useful against the big guys. And then the overhand, which is the heavy overhand, is a really good kind of brainer. Really good for hitting people in the head. So that was a melee weapon. So let's continue on with the Spearhead. Spearhead bolt gun. This is a lock MK2B. Like I said, mobility is also the dump stat on this one. But for the perks on that one, we have flak and unyielding. Unyielding for the bosses, and then flak for just the most common damage type. And on those blessings, we have puncture. I've noticed this one is like every once in a while you'll get a single hit in and the bleed will kill somebody depending on where you hit them or if you crit them or not. So 4 stacks of bleed to enemies, and then pinning fire. Pinning fire is just because there's an AoE associated with that explosive round at the end of its shot, or the end of its like terminal velocity. I don't know when it activates, but it is at the end. So it gives you extra strength versus every enemy you stagger, and that can really add up depending on who you're hitting. Everybody except for bosses will be pretty much staggered by this thing. So I find pinning fire was pretty useful. Same with puncture. I think those two in conjunction are very good, but there's plenty of ways you can build a bolter to do what you want it to do. And let's go down to the curios real quick. So, it's toughness all across the board. I will say this is one of the characters that I do have toughness regeneration speed on, because I think there is some kind of correlation, and I'll say that in the talents, between one of his abilities and other characters. I'm not 100% sure on that one. It's something to research. As I understand, toughness regeneration just only affects your in-group speed, but I find it pretty useful every once in a while, so we're going to go with that. So on that, combat ability generation and toughness. And then we go over to the middle. We do combat ability generation, damage resistance gunners, because that's always needed. And then we've got at least one revive speed and some stamina regeneration, because we're constantly eating through our stamina while we're aiming. And I'll show that in the tree as well. So that kind of covers his general weapons, melee weapons, ranged weapons, and curios. So let's go into the talents real quick and kind of go from there. So, obviously, we start with Confirm Kill, just because toughness on elite or specials, those are two you should be targeting anyways, so it just helps. It's very easy to do. Long Shot, obviously, you're going to get more damage the farther you away. That's really nice to have. Volley Adept, so since you're already killing specialists and elites anyways, you're going to get a better reload speed. The Bolter has a pretty bad reload speed, so there's no reason why you shouldn't want to, like, up that, you know? And that's not to say a lot of these other ones are not very, very good. Yeah, there's just so many good talents in that first beginning tree that I would love to take if I had the points. Close Order Drill, pretty obvious. Crack Grenades, I like all these grenades, to be honest. I think smoke grenades really have a good purpose if you can use them well. They fulfill a role. And then frag grenades, they're just good for AoEs and crowds, and they can do a lot of damage. It's really great. All 3 of the grenades I do like. I don't tend to use the smoke very much, but I have seen some very talented people use that weapon. So obviously crack grenades, they go boom. Nothing too big. So then we come down a little bit, and we go into Iron Will. That just kind of prevents you from getting one shot a little bit better. Just because that single first hit, if your toughness is above a certain percent, just means your shields aren't gonna go instantly down, right? And then for the team, field improvisation, I really like this one just because it helps out everybody. It's really nice to have. I think pretty much every class should at least have this on a vet, but there are certain ways of building that just kind of prefer the other way, right? Opening salvo, so first 20% after reload has a 10% chance for range critical hit chance. It's just good with the bolter. It has a fairly large clip, so it can get a decent amount of crit on that. And then with that, we have catch breath. Obviously, that's pretty self-explanatory. I mean, that just kind of, we have to take that one either way. But it's a nice one to regen toughness with. Good idea to keep your mind on. And with that survivalist, now I used to have close and kill, and I did really like that movement speed. I really thought that was fun. But I just can't, when you're by yourself and you don't have survivalist, it's just a real pain because you're not regenerating ammo for anybody. So I like to take survivalist just in case there's a chance I need more ammo, because I always need more ammo. And with that, demolition stockpile, so you replenish the grenade every 60 seconds. And then you're coming down into voice of command, and I just like this one because it's a team buff. It's very, very nice to have. And along with that, voice of command also provides allies and currency with 50 toughness for 10 seconds. Just great to have. And then we're going to come over here on the right. I usually pick up duck and dive just because you're dodging and sprinting and sliding, all that kind of stuff. You're going to get stamina up, and you're going to need that for one of the talents in here. So that's a pretty important one I usually try to pick up all the time. And then we go leave no one behind. I really like this one because it not only does it buff movement, assist and revive speed, it's just really good. And they also when you get them back up, they get a damage reduction as well for a few seconds. Demolition team, because I always like more crack grenades. And other people, I mean, it just triggers off of other people as well. So tactical awareness, so ability cooldown regeneration on special skill, pretty obvious. Rending strikes, so all weapons have rending, great. Bring it down, so that's obviously a pretty standardized one. You're going to have to take that either way. And then we come down into the keystone and we pick up all these talents just for the that focused ability of shooting things. And the one thing I believe, not that one, this one, target down. So this is the one I think that it applies for toughness regeneration. That applies to the group somehow, and I'm not exactly sure how that stacks in together, but it's certainly that I find it works pretty well. But a lot of these things, take them as what you will. You can respec them or rechange them pretty easily too. So I've just found that this character is really good with a close group, and I've survived a decent amount and carried a decent amount that I really prefer having what I want. So Ogren and pretty much this character are the only ones I would have toughness regeneration on. And then we come over here to the left tree, so we have precision strikes, so essentially just extra weak spot damage. And this is where the dead shot, that we're going to need that stamina because we're draining stamina every time we aim on our secondary fire, aim our ranged. And then just picked up fully loaded because we love extra ammo. So in general, we're kind of coming down, we're sticking mainly to the middle, a little bit over here to the left, going over to pick survivalist, getting the voice of command, always good to have. And then capturing a few of these choice talents on both the left and right side, and then going straight down the middle for focus target. It's a really fun build to just kind of ping people and shoot things. It's just very simple. So we'll go off and just do a few tactics real quick, and then we'll see from there. And the one reason I like this Mark of Bolter is because it has a burst fire, and I know people that really like the semi-auto one a lot, or no, the auto one. I just really like this one because it's got, even when you fire it in that burst mode, it's fairly accurate, right? it still maintains a decent amount of, like, it doesn't flux too much. So if you want to spam it towards, you want to mag dump some towards somebody's chest, it's very controlled in doing that. The auto one, I don't find it does that quite so much, but to each their own, pretty much. And then with that, just aiming at heads, highlighting people as much as you can, because every time you highlight somebody and they die, you're going to get some kind of bonus. And there's that bleed as well. And even if you don't hit them in the head, it's still not bad to hit them in the chest, right? See, that took about 3/4 his health away. Not bad. Not bad at all. Obviously, crack grenades are going to go to the biggest source of magnetic pull. Probably the crusher. Usually going to get attracted to something like a band brace or like an arm or a gun or definitely a shield. And then obviously you're going to have the secondary fire with this one, so the right click on this one where you can just do underneath. That actually ends up hitting some interesting spots. You can drop that in locations like choke points to kill a whole bunch of things at once. It's just in general a really good thing to have for certain areas. And I just like throwing that thing because it's fun. Shout, I really like this just because A, it will stagger everything. It staggers bosses. It gives everybody toughness. Regens everything around you. It's just a multi-use kind of thing where you can get people up. You can push people away from a downed enemy. You can stop a boss from charging. I've used it to stop chaos spawn all the time when they jump in at you. You just scream and they stagger back and then everybody just lights them up. And then let's switch over to the melee weapon. Nothing too complicated there as well, but I really do enjoy this one just because tase. Tasing is fun. This will stop just about any of the big guys that have a lot of armor. It's just very useful in case you need some backup and you need like a little bit of breathing room, right? And then there's that power attack. So that's a heavy. So it's going to kind of come one sweep across and then a whole bunch in the head. And this one is really nice just because that just constantly spams towards the brain. And you just can constantly just kind of hit people over and over again in the head. Now, I really like thrust on this weapon. I have on a couple other characters I have thrust on. It's really fun to do that too. But then the light attack is just kind of some sweeps across the side, and there's one vanguard in there as well, which is really good. I use this weapon a lot for just taking down hordes. You can kind of see that right there. That just kind of eats those little guys away, and that's the ones I find I have the most trouble with. The big guys used for like the gun is used for like killing the big guys, and then the crack is for the really big guys, right? So in general, it's just use the melee weapon when you're kind of caught in a crowd, and then the bolter when you need to take out a priority target from a longer distance. It also does pretty good at hordes, but it doesn't really. It can go through them, so engaging in a close range could be kind of difficult. Just because you don't have a lot of room, right? But it will go through multiple targets, and just kind of fun. But it's about 13 minutes. I covered just about everything that we normally have on this one. Other than that, it's good to see you guys. I'm looking forward to playing tonight. Hopefully everything works out okay, because obviously last time we had a few issues, but I'm really looking forward to seeing you guys. Really good seeing you. Stay safe out there, guys, and thanks for likes and subscribes. Really appreciate it. You guys have a good day. We'll see you later tonight. Okay?